Peter Lim is a partner and head of strategic pursuits at KPMG. He's also proudly a lifer at a company he's been working at since 1991. That roughly translates to about 35 years. Along the way, he held portfolios such as COO of Financial Services Advisory and also head of Alumni Relations. Peter Lim is in the studio, and this is Savills Shares. Welcome to the show, Peter.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Honored to be here.
So tell us something about Peter Lim that most people do not know about.
If I had the opportunity, I would like to be a Kung Fu master because I grew up enjoying Kung Fu shows and I still do till today. So that's part of fantasizing, I guess.
Kung Fu. What's your favorite Kung Fu show?
Should I be promoting The Pursuit of Jade?
Okay, we know where you watch your shows. So tell us, before KPMG became a professional home, what did success means to you?
I think we all grew up having certain ideas, at least for our generation, where our parents always encourage us to be one of three: accountants, lawyers, or teachers.
I thought doctors is one of them.
All right, one of four: accountants, lawyers, teachers, or doctors. My parents, no different. They have high expectations for us. So that was pretty much the way I grew up, thinking that someday I'll be some big shot in the private sector.
Right. Well, you are a big shot now.
Well, I'm a shot at life.
So has that definition of success evolved since?
Definitely. I think as we age, as we grow older, we realize that success is not just defined by wealth or titles. We also realize that success is also defined by health, having good relationships, having important, significant support system around us, such as family.
Now, you have been with KPMG for more than 3 decades. How have you kept yourself from becoming numb or complacent?
Somewhere along your long professional career, I think it is normal that you will think about wanting to try something else, especially for those of us in our 20s, 30s, right? So I find that relationships, having good friends in the firm, is very important. So throughout my professional life, I've always tried to make friends. And a place like KPMG allows you to do that because you get a new cohort of young people every year. So I was one of those young people. I grew up to be one of those matured people. And thankfully, up to today, I still have those friends around my vintage. And we are very close friends even till today. But I also make it a point to make younger friends.
Well, I mean, definitely what you shared is something that we all experience. The younger generation view these days is to grow, one needs to expose oneself to different organizations. But how do you navigate that perspective though? I mean, coming as a lifer in a company like KPMG.
We grew up in a generation where loyalty to one workplace is very important, right? And I don't think that I consciously chose to stay in KPMG. It just became so. There was never a reason to leave. Again, like I said, I had good friends, good company. I enjoyed the work. I had different roles throughout my last 3 decades. I even went to London not once but twice for international secondment. And the varied kind of work that I get to do throughout my time with the firm. So it was quite easy for me to not think about wanting to go someplace else. Of course, in my youngest days, like I said, 20s, I did entertain those thoughts. But when you become more stable in your roles, you just kind of want to stay around and give back. I think it's perfectly okay that the generation these days think differently because they are loyal to developing themselves. And that doesn't have to be with one employer. It could be several employers nurturing themselves, making sure that they grow professionally or even personally as people.
Well, you spoke about working in London and you have been there for a couple of years. How has that experience and those years overseas changed your perspective in terms of corporate culture, opportunities, and leadership?
Well, this was during a time when being overseas for work wasn't very common. So I would say that it was a very big deal, especially for me. I didn't get to travel a lot, whether at work or personally. So that experience kind of opened my eyes to many things, a different culture, different working styles, different colleagues, doing different types of work. So I think that definitely helps cement the exposure to different types of leadership, working in different culture. And it's just like what I always say about one of my favorite Kung Fu stars, Jackie Chan, right? If you see some of his movies, earlier ones, Jackie Chan would learn his Kung Fu from different Kung Fu masters. But he's still the same person. He just becomes better and better with each Kung Fu master that he goes to, right? So I think our career is something sometimes like that. Whether we get our experience here or like in my case, some parts of it in London. And then also throughout my career, I get to travel to different countries for work. All those just help me to become a better person.
And how about becoming a better leader? Does that help at all?
I think for me, leadership can be taught, can also be caught. So I often look at the leaders before me. I ask myself, what are some of these qualities that mean something to me? What is the type of leader that I wish I had? What's the type of leader that I wish I wouldn't become? And again, back to my Jackie Chan analogy, I take the best of each of these and I just decide on what style I would have. So for example, when I was in London, it was a time when I saw that the grind and the way that people work was very different than what I was used to at home. It's just a very different culture. And we learned to work hard, but also play hard. And it was this kind of mindset and mentality that I then brought back with me to the firm when I come back to Singapore. Another example was when we had team meetings, we involved everyone in the department, right? Doesn't matter what grade, anyone who is around, who is in a leadership role. So for example, it could be a senior associate, could be a manager, could be a director. But always the department secretary gets to have a voice in those meetings. And I thought that's quite interesting because they do have different points of views as well.
I mean, definitely having involvement from different parts of the company adds to the flavor and you get a more rounded perspective of what's going on.
Yes.
Have you had one of those breakthrough moments because of this?
I wouldn't say exactly that it's breakthrough. I think, like I said, growing up, and especially as a leader, I'm always very open, very adaptable to learn and acquire from the best. So no significant breakthrough in terms of, wow, this is the way I want to be, but an accumulation of different experiences that I guess inform the kind of leader I am today.
Well, in your role currently as head of alumni relations, you reconnect people who have left the company back with the firm. Why do you think that's important?
I believe that whenever we join an organization, especially for fresh graduates, this emotional connection to the organization that you join, And for whatever reason that you leave, hopefully mostly positive, you make your friends there. And especially in an industry like ours, like I said, when we have one cohort, it is a big cohort, right? So you have been through the hardship, the good times, the not so good times. You've been in the trenches together. And those relationships and friendships, they cannot be easily forgotten. And what is the common denominator? It is the firm. So when we hold alumni gatherings, it is always very heartening to hear people say, oh, I miss those times when we did this or did that. And those memories are very warm. So reconnecting people through the alumni program enable us to share a common identity, even though we are at different points in our career, even though we are at different employment, but it is the one place that we kind of grew up together. And so there's a shared identity in that sense.
Sounds a lot like school friends as well as army mates that
Indeed.
had gone through, thick and thin together and coming back together and then being able to still look back fondly on those memories.
Yeah, like us.
Okay, now speaking of school, you were part of the choir and also the debating team when you were schooling. Did those activities, which we used to call ECA, help to form the leader you are today?
Definitely, because, like in the choir or even in a debating team, one of the things you realize is that it's not an individual sport. You learn to be part of a group. So take choir, for example. Some people may sound very good alone if they are doing a solo, but the reason for having a choir is that when we have the 4-part harmony, we sound fantastic, right? So it just informs us that being in a group means that we are able to work with one another. And when I become a leader, that becomes a very important thing for me. The ability to rally people together, the ability to help everyone to become a better version of themselves, and then together to achieve a common goal, all good.
So just as well that you were able to sing and join the choir then.
And talk.
Yes. Now, we also know that managing people may be actually the hardest part of any job itself. What is a difficult people decision that you had to make? And what did they teach you about leadership maturity?
You can't be a leader if you're not dealing with people. That's the work, but then that's about managing the work. But leading people is something very different because people will follow if they see vision, if they see purpose. When you manage or lead people, there will tend to be conflict, challenges, difficult conversations. So I find that for me, I would like to think I'm a very people person. So having difficult conversations does not come naturally for me, right? It may surprise you that I actually rehearse what I want to say before I eventually get to say it. And that's because I think also I am very sensitive to how the other party feels. I want to make sure that whatever difficult messages I bring across will not put a person down, will not erode the person's confidence in his or herself, but will encourage him or her to think about how they can be better in order to contribute to the goal that we're talking about.
Does it get easier?
It gets easier with practice, but I think the emotions just do not get easier.
Do you still rehearse these days?
I still do rehearse, yes.
Right. Well, being accountable and responsible is such a key part and component in whatever role that we are in. How do you create accountability among your team without making anybody feel small?
I think that it's incumbent upon us as leaders to be very clear in what we want achieved. So I do have the habit of giving very clear instructions right at the start. I do have the habit of explaining things very clearly. And I want to make sure that everyone understands what the final outcome should look before I send them off. So I'm quite sure that no staff, nobody works with me will say, well, we don't know what he wants, because it's just not me. After I've explained it very clearly, then I expect that people who do not think they understand what the deliverable is or what the outcome should look like should come back and ask. So I had a recent incident where exactly that happens, because I thought I was very clear about my expectations about what the deliverable should be. Of course, it did not come out the way that I expected it. So when I brought the staff into my room, sat him down, I explained to him clearly that if he had not understood, he should have clarified. And I would like to think that I practice a very open door policy. I don't think any time in my career and in my role as a leader that anybody would say, I can't speak to Peter about this. I can't talk to him about that. I don't think that ever happens. So it's just that clarification. I guess the first time we explain each other, and after that we can achieve that understanding that this is how we work.
Did it go well?
Oh, definitely, because I rehearsed.
Rehearsal is so important.
For everything, yes.
For everything.
Including this talk today.
Now, a recent media report shared a Robert Waters survey that more than 65% of working professionals suffer from quiet cracking frequently. Now, quiet cracking is defined as employees showing up at work but struggle within with job uncertainty, lack of professional growth or work pressure, leading them to be silently underperforming and affecting their mental well-being as well. What do you think leaders can do to address this?
I think it's not just about silent cracking. I think as leaders, we also need to be observant. We need to be able to tell when people are not showing up. It's incumbent upon leaders to be observant to the people that they lead. So I would like to say that if every leader should take an interest in every staff, not asking us to go and parent them, but they know that you've got their back. They know that there's someone they can talk to if they need to. And very often I do have people coming to me for career guidance. And I would like to think that I'm very objective. I don't give them the answers they want to hear most of the time. I tell them from my experience what I think I would do if I were in their shoes. So if we are observant leaders, we might be able to catch some of these behavioral traits. People who are not motivated or people who just don't show up when they should.
Do you think there's anything leaders can do to avoid people even suffering from quiet cracking?
I think it's very difficult because the human being is very complex. And I think that ever since COVID-19, a lot of things have changed for us and for this generation growing up. There's a lot more thinking about purpose, what I want to do in my life. Is this really what I want to do? So I think it's good to have those conversations. It cannot be avoided, but definitely there must be a way that we can talk to our staff, the people that we lead, to help them to maybe see different perspectives.
Was there ever a moment in your professional life where you ever felt out of your depth? And how did you handle that?
I think definitely yes, because we have to admit that we are not all-knowing, right? So there will always be times when we are not sure about things. There will also be times that we don't know what we don't know. But just like the way that I encourage my staff to be able to clarify and ask questions when they need to, that was pretty much the way I grew up. Asking questions, clarifying, and then whether or not I get the answer I like, I move on.
Do you remember any incident in particular?
Oh, yes. I think most of us might have gone through this, where we think that we are worth more than we are paid. So I remember as a very young associate, I did ask the question, why is it that my pay is this or that, right? And after it was explained to me, I accepted it. I didn't feel bitter. I didn't say I'm going to resign and move on. And my leader at the time then complimented me on my response because he, somewhat as my mentor, knew that I needed to ask the question, even if the answer was not what I wanted to hear.
Right.
But I needed to ask the question, and I did. I wasn't happy with the answer, but I was glad there was an answer.
How did you then handle yourself in terms of moving forward?
I am a person who can move forward quite easily. I think in life, we go through many, many things. There are some things that we will never move on from, but it doesn't mean we cannot move forward. So I always use the analogy of a shark. A shark must always move forward or it dies, right? So I'm like that. I can move forward regardless of the situation, even if emotionally it gets to me, even if mentally it drains me out, but I will take a step forward.
Well, one of Eleanor Roosevelt's famous quote was, do something that scares you every day. So what scary things have you done lately, Peter?
Talking to strangers.
Do elaborate.
I know that many of my friends think that I'm very outgoing, I'm an extrovert. I would like to think of myself as a professional extrovert. I'm an extrovert because I believe that my work requires me to be one. But really, I'd rather be at home in my room watching The Pursuit of Jade, just doing the things that I enjoy doing. So I'm very all right to be by myself, right? So that's the introvert part of me. And I go to many networking events and people say, oh, Peter, it's so natural for you. You can talk to so and so, you can talk to the ice. You can talk
to the ice melt, or you can sell ice to the Eskimos.
And I say again, it requires practice, right? Because before I go to any event, be it networking or just any event, I kind of mentally anticipate what kind of people I think I'm going to meet. I make it a point to ask for the attendance list. I go through the list and I have a vague idea of the people I'm going to meet. And then I go.
And you rehearse beforehand.
Of course. Yeah. It's not something that comes up very naturally, but I think all of us can practice those skills of meeting strangers, having small talk, which I feel many people can't, but it can be practiced.
Right. Well, I mean, I agree with you. I also see myself as an introvert, but a high-functioning introvert. So, which is why we're having this discussion now. Now, if a young person wants to build the kind of long, cherished, and meaningful career like you, what would you tell them to master first? Competence, courage, or character?
Oh, this is an easy one. Not that the question is easy, but I think character above all else, right? So in KPMG, our most important value is integrity. Integrity above all else. Integrity is part of our character. So it's something that is within you that cannot change. I do draw a difference between character and personality. Personality is what I show to the world. Character is what is inherently me, right? So I think having a great character, right values, knowing what is right and what is wrong, very important. So I'll rather have a staff. And in my career, I definitely have these people. Good character. They may not be the smartest, but those are the people that I know. They will carry you through difficult times.
How do you build good character?
By being a mentor, through coaching, by being an example. I think this is pretty much what it is like If you're trying to build a strong culture, don't talk about just within an organization, right? Even within my team, if I'm thinking about what kind of team members I want to have team members who will perform even when I'm not there. So that's what culture to me is. We want people who will do their best even when the boss is not watching. So I will encourage that, the boss must be someone, or a leader must be someone who is able to demonstrate what kind of example the staff or the people you lead want to see, want to emulate, want to role model after. And character is something that is very important. If I keep talking about it and I show up late for work, I blatantly lie about things, I don't have their backs, then I think that's the kind of people I'm going to lead, and that's the kind of leader they're going to be someday.
It's basically walk the talk.
Walk the talk, yes.
Is it realistic to be a leader who is commercially successful and yet still loved and respected by the team?
Definitely. I mean, if you ask me, I would say yes, right? I know there are some people who say that you can only achieve success by having control. Well, that's not what I believe. I think, as I said, success can be defined in many, many ways. For me, if an objective is achieved, it may take a little longer, as long as we get there. To me, then that's important, that we get buy-in from people. We have people who are passionate about a great outcome. And that's how I want to lead people. Not via control, maybe through compassion, through caring, through consultation.
And when did you first realize that your value was no longer just defined in terms of your technical skills, but rather in how you develop others? Because that's what your role requires to do in the last 30-odd years.
So I grew up having very good role models in my life. Many of these were people from the church that I go to. They set examples for me, and they teach me what it means to love, to care, to look after the flock. When I go to the workplace, when I become a professional and when I become a leader of people, I naturally have those values inbuilt in me, that this is the way I want to lead people. This is the way that I want to show them that leadership can be compassionate, can be caring, can be consultative.
Well, your son turned 21 last year, and you've written about the greatest gift a father can give is the gift of presence. Now, given all your learnings, all your wisdom, what is one thing, one kung fu skill, if you may, that you hope your son will inherit from you?
If he grows to become a better father than I am, I think that's success for me. I grew up losing my dad at a very young age. So my dad passed away when I was 8 years old. And that's why I had role models and mentors that are outside of the family. So it then tells me that we always think that children without the father figure at home, they may grow up delinquent, they may grow up wayward. And of course, to be honest, there are research that may even support that. I don't think about the years that my father was not around. I think about the years that he was. The short 8 years and the values that he inculcated in me, the love, the care, I think that pretty much formed the kind of image of fatherhood for me. So when we had Linus, my now 22 years old, that was the kind of father I wanted to be. I wanted to be there for him. I wanted to make sure that he grows up knowing that his dad is always there. Whatever happens, the dad will always have his back.
Now, if you're given the chance to go back in time and speak to your 13-year-old self, what would you say to him?
Lose some weight. I would like to think that I haven't changed much. throughout the years. Not physically, of course. I think the person that I grew up to be and eventually become, I think it has been rather consistent. My very positive outlook on life, my perspectives about things, about people, I don't think those has changed very much, even back then as a 13-year-old. So if I go back and tell this little boy, I'll say continue to embrace life the way you already are. Do not sweat the small stuff. Everything will work out just fine.
Wise words indeed. Well, thank you, Peter, for spending the time with us today.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. You can catch all the episodes of Season 3, 2, and 1 on YouTube Music and Spotify. And don't forget to subscribe or follow us. Till then, God bless. This podcast is for general information only and should not be taken as professional advice. Savills accept no responsibility or liability for any direct or indirect or any consequential loss from the use of, reference to, or the reliance on this podcast or its content.